Hey there, welcome to another episode of Cooking with Violet Vixen. Today we are making curry vol au vent. Here's what we made. Now, with the pastry, back ages ago, you used to actually be able to buy a puff pastry in a block that you could roll out and do stuff with. Can't get it anymore. You got to use those sheets or make your own. So what I've done is I've reverted back to puff pastry I made a few weeks ago when I made the spinach turnovers. That's one of the previous videos, so hopefully you've already seen that one. Refer back to that to make the pastry, and I did that part last night so that I had pastry. That's a bit more than I need, but it's pastry and it's a vol au vent, so it's going to be good. So we need that. And then we're going to make, I'll show you how we actually make a vol au vent. So most people think vol au vents are these little tiny things that are cute that you can fill with stuff. This one's going to be a huge one, so that's going to be exciting. Grab all this because we're making a sauce to go in our vol au vent. We need a saucepan because we're going to simmer a little bit of a sauce. And while that sauce is simmering, we're going to make the vol au vent case. We cook the vol au vent case, put this in, serve it up, and let's go. Alright, so let's get into it. So I have all my ingredients sat here waiting. Obviously you already know I've got my pastry, I've got olive oil, 1 onion I'm going to chop up, a clove of garlic I'm also going to chop that, not crush it, curry powder, 225 grams of minced beef so it's not too overpowering on that, tomato paste, beef stock, I've got the beef stock powder I'm going to make up my stock, some frozen peas, salt and pepper, and some corn flour. So there's not too much to this, but we're going to get into it. So grab a knife and a chopping board. We're going to chop some onions and try not to cry. Okay. So I'm only using a small onion because it's not really a big meal, so just use a small onion. We're going to get the general oniony taste going on anyway. Let's hope this isn't the one onion that makes me cry. Oh, I don't have very good thumbs at my work job. Occasionally I have to peel a whole bag of onions. So fingers get to really pay for it. Anyway, this one's not too bad so far. Okay, we're just going to chop that one up quickly. And as I said today, normally we crush garlic. Today we are chopping that one as well. So we'll do the two together. That, I don't want that, that's yuck. You can chop it smaller or you can chop it bigger. It's entirely up to you. I don't go overly fast in the kitchen, probably especially with knives is a good thing. I'm not a trained chef. I would like to be on MasterChef, but I didn't make it this year, so disappointing, but probably under other circumstances a good thing. It would have been very hard for me to have said yes to it anyway, but maybe next year. Not discouraged. I wasn't discouraged last year when I didn't make it, so it's not the end of the world. With the garlic, I want to try and cut it up a bit smaller, only because to me I'm normally always using crushed garlic. So you want a different knife that will allow you to cut it up smaller. And because it's going in at the same time as it's not going in at the same time as the onion, do not put them both together. Come here. Alright. Should be fine. Okay, let's grab that saucepan. So come on over to my stove top. Let's go. In case you're wondering, my kitchen isn't as huge as it looks, but it functions. That's the main thing. Now, I should be right with a smallish saucepan because we're not really doing much with it, and I'm preparing this early, and then I'm going to be cooking everything later anyway. So what we need to do, I like to give everything a spray. That way, when it's time to wash up, it's not a headache. Okay, so we need 2 tablespoons of cooking oil. To me, cooking oil, I like olive oil. Gives it that good flavour. I haven't got my really good olive oil like I had last time, but yes, it does matter what olive oil you use. Some gives a different flavour. Yeah, 2 tablespoons of that in that case. Alright, we're going to get that hot, which helps if we turn it on, and then we're going to do our onion. Okay, when that oil's hot, in goes that 1 chopped onion. As I said, use whatever size onion you want. I sort of look at a dish and go, I'd like more onion taste to it, or I'd like less onion taste to it. So that's why I like to buy the small onions. So we're going to brown that for about 5 minutes. Brown it, don't burn it. There's a difference between the two. While that's browning, start and grab your beef stock. I had my beef stock powders dried out, so I actually need to boil the kettle to make beef stock, so I'm going to do that while this is going on. So our onion, now that we can hear it sizzling, turn it down. When that onion's starting to look nice and brown, in goes that clove of garlic and our 1 teaspoon of curry powder. It should start to really smell good now once we get the curry powder going through it. Give that a stir. We want to cook that for about a minute. Beautiful. Okay, so keep stirring that till it's all, the meat's no longer red. You want it browned. That's smelling really curry-ish, if that's even a word. Looking good. So get that in. Alright, a little bit longer on that, and then we can add the next things. Okay, when that's all nice and browned, 2 tablespoons of tomato paste. I haven't got one left over in the freezer, so I'm opening a new one. This one, the rest of it will go in the freezer. Which is then good for next time I need it. You can, I used to do it where I froze it into tablespoons and then put it in a bag, but if you've got time, buy one of the large jars and do it that way. freeze it into tablespoons. And the reason why I say freeze it into tablespoons is because generally any recipe where you use tomato paste, you do use a tablespoon or 2 tablespoons or whatever. I might be wrong, but most of them, as I say, I've found that. And to me, if it says half a tablespoon and you use 1 tablespoon, I don't think a bit more tomato paste is going to spoil the recipe. Whereas with some recipes, if you put extra in, it's the end of the world. You know, it gives it, it's the wrong flavour. So I think you're right with that. Okay. Get that 150 mils of beef stock. Pop that in as well. The beef stock powder didn't really melt away, but it should. We are going to simmer this for 15 minutes. Give this a stir. Now, the 50 grams of peas, we just had to cook them, so I've just put them in the microwave in that cup, 30 seconds and then 30 seconds. The recipe didn't say how cooked. Okay, crack pepper, as much or as little as you want, or none at all. I like pepper. And same with the salt. I like these because you can put in as much as you want or as little as you want. Okay, we're going to let this simmer for 15 minutes, so get that timer on. Alright, and I'm going to show you how we make a vol au vent. Okay, so let's go. The last ingredient to go in that will be the corn flour, 1.5 tablespoons. That's just going to thicken it. Now, if you don't want to continue on and make this into a vol au vent, you can actually make that into pies. If you want to make little party pies or a big pie, it's up to you. But we're going to do this vol au vent case anyway. So back over to the other side and let's go. Okay, so I'm working my way through this. These are great books for learning how to cook, creative cooking. This is sweet and savoury pastry, and this is what's involved in making a vol au vent. So I don't have one of these fancy cutters. I do, however, have plates of all sizes, so I'm going to improvise. So what we need to do is we are going to roll out the pastry, so get a clean work surface and pop some flour down. Just your normal flour's fine. Now, I found this pastry to be pretty good. I don't want to talk too soon, but last night I was getting it to this stage because obviously last time I made it, I did it on a day off, and it's basically do something, walk away half an hour, come back, do something else. So it takes about 1.5 hours, I think it was, all up to make this block of pastry that we're looking at now, which is really insane when you think about it. But as I say, compare this to that frozen stuff and you go, no, if I can make my pastry, I'll make my pastry. So we're going to roll. So this was only supposed to be in the fridge for 20 minutes last night after the final before I could use it, but 10:30 at night I did not want to be making a vol au vent case, which is fair enough. So we're going to roll it out till it's 1 centimetre thick, and the aim of this is we're going to make 2 circles. If you think about a vol au vent, it's a circle base, and then you've got like a puffed up stack of pastry. You probably could do this with the frozen pastry, but I don't know how your results would go. You probably have to use 2 pieces to do one, and then you can't guarantee that it's not going to be raw on the middle. I like this big heavy rolling pin too. I feel like with this rolling pin I don't have to put too much effort in. You can't really see it, but inside this pastry is 225 grams of butter. So this is what gives it that flakiness. Alright. You can get your ruler out to measure it. Okay. Now I want a 15 centimetre round, so actually we want two 15 centimetre rounds. So the best way to do that is try and find a round plate or something that you've got that's 15 centimetres. So I'll be back. Easy, sauce is 15.5 centimetres. Since I've technically made more pastry, I'm going to go for this one. So grab a knife. We're going to cut 2 circles. Did I go right around? Yes, I did. There's our first one. Oh, look at that. That's good. That's a good pastry. Doesn't look very big. Anyway, now let's do our second one. And this is where the twist comes into the second one. We need to cut a smaller circle out of this one. How small, you ask? Say about the size of a glass, maybe. Grab a glass. Didn't specify for the lid, but think proportionally. You don't want a tiny lid and you don't want a big lid, so it's going to look like a donut. I think this size is perfect. So this circle is apparently going to make a lid. So there we go. Pastry left over, you can do something with it. Alright, so that is what we have got. Grab your pastry brush. We don't have a pastry brush, we have a brush. And a bit of water. Glass comes in handy twice. Get some cold water. Basically we're just going to brush the edges. Put the complete round on a baking sheet moistened with water. No, we're not. We're going to use a beaten egg in between. So let's get a tray. When selecting a tray, try not to do a really big tray just in case the pastry decides it wants to spread. I don't think it will, but don't quote me. So I'm putting the water on the tray. Put that completed one on the bottom. And then we want to brush beaten egg on the top. And then stick that one on top. Okay, now this is going in the oven 220 degrees for, if I remember right, it was about 20 minutes. Now I do remember reading when I first made this pastry, it said you can make extra and freeze it, so that is exactly what I'm going to do, so that if I need pastry later for any reason whatsoever, I'll know what I've got. There's 332 grams there, that's great. Alright, 332 is just short of a 350 grams, so what I'm going to do is get one of my bags and put that in the freezer for next time. That will save me a few hours. Even though it said that we only needed 350 grams, I don't know how much I've used, but I think that the next recipe I could probably get away with using less pastry, so that has just done me a huge favour. I would not have wanted to throw that out. Okay, the buzz has gone off, so our vol au vent I'm not cooking till later because it says to cook it before you serve it. So this is going in the freezer. We are going back to finish off our curry sauce. Alright, should be simmering away really well. Okay, it does need thickening, which is good. 1.5 tablespoons of corn flour. Put half a tablespoon in and then give it a stir in. That way you know you're not going to get any flour spots. You would hope not anyway. Perfect. Now give that a really good stir. And we're going to let this cool, only because, as I said, I'm not preparing it straight away. If you guys are doing this to eat it now, then just keep it warm while that pastry is cooking. Alright, let's turn that off and put that aside. Okay, so with the pastry, I'll tell you exactly how we're going to finish cooking it. Okay, so we're going to grab an egg, crack it, brush the pastry, brush our mini pastry, which is actually the lid, and brush the ring and put the ring on top so that we're looking like that. That is going to puff up and look awesome. Then we're going to put it in the oven. Alrighty, so we want the oven on 200 degrees and we are going to bake that for about 20 minutes. So we're not baking the filling in it, we're only baking the pastry. So 200 degrees, once it's done, in goes the filling, you sit your little lid on top to look all decorative, and we get ready to serve it. And this little beauty is going to serve 4 people, so it's a small meal, so it's good to serve with veggies or whatever. So I'll be back later to show you exactly how that's going to look when it goes in the oven and how I'm going to assemble it. So till then, I'll catch you later. Bye for now.